Good morning. Michigan and the nation continues to struggle in their attempts to bring the COVID-19 virus under control. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has issued new orders requiring the use of masks indoors and at some outdoor gatherings. She has also placed new limitations on bars in some parts of the state. Many businesses are facing serious financial challenges, and bars are among those seeing the biggest impact as Michigan's economy continues to suffer because of the pandemic. This morning we'll talk about that with a state official directly connected with this issue. It starts right now.
From TV6, this is The Ryan Report. Here's your host, Don Ryan.
I first met Pat Gagliardi when he was living in Sault Ste. Marie and was elected to serve the 107th District in the Eastern Upper Peninsula as a member of the State House of Representatives. Jumping forward to today, he was appointed last year by Governor Whitmer to serve as chairman of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. This week, I talked with the chairman about the issues facing that industry, but we also took a few moments to recall his earlier service in the state legislature. You know, before we get down to your current assignment, I'd like to share a little history with our viewers. I know you served in the Michigan legislature, and I think that started back in 1983.
Yes, sir. I got elected first time in 1982. My mentor at the time was an old friend of yours and mine, Dominic Jacobetti.
You know, that's right. You served with a legend, and I imagine you could probably fill this show with just stories about working with Dominic Jacobetti.
Oh, absolutely. You know, he was such a good mentor, and he really was a great public servant. He wanted to help the people that he represented, but he, as you know, he even took on a bigger role in representing the people in the whole of the Upper Peninsula and northern Michigan. People who were far away from the state capitol felt like they didn't have a lot of power, and he wanted to make sure they had a voice in the capitol, and taught me an awful lot about what a good public servant does and how hard you work. I mean, he started coming to the legislature before there was a Mackinac Bridge and super highways or expressways, and so it took them a long time. They came home once a month back in the 50s. So
yeah, you know, with him serving as chairman of the Appropriations Committee and you as the Democratic floor leader for many years, you guys accomplished a lot of things for Upper Michigan working together, I'm sure.
Well, I couldn't have got there without his help. There's no doubt about it. Dominic, or Jake as we always called him, nominated me to be the floor leader, and I was lucky to be the Democratic floor leader for 10 years and majority floor leader for 8 of those 10 years. So,
not to spend too much time on history, but it was kind of interesting as I was looking. You're actually from Bay City originally, and you went to Lake Superior State University and kind of found a new home in the Sioux area, didn't you?
Yeah, we had been going up there my whole life. In fact, I can remember crossing the straits barely in car ferries, but I remember being 6 years old in November of '57 and crossing the Mackinac Bridge 10 days after it was open with my grandfather. We went up there all the time fishing as kids, my grandfather and us grandkids, and just loved the Upper Peninsula. When I got a chance to go to college, I came up to Sault Ste. Marie and made a whole great life for myself. We live on Drummond Island. We have a home in East Lansing because both my wife and I are still working out of the East Lansing area, but we're back and forth and feel very, very blessed on what we've had.
This is your second time around on the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. I think Jennifer Granholm first appointed you in maybe 2003?
Yes, sir. I spent 8 years at the beginning of the Granholm administration in through the first 7 months of the Snyder administration at the commission. And then just what a wonderful thing it is. Anybody that's been appointed to any position by a governor it's just you know, highly unbelievable aspect of your life. I mean, to be appointed one of very few by a governor, and to be appointed again by Governor Whitmer, and to be appointed chairman of the commission by Governor Whitmer. I just can't say enough of how exciting that is for me and my family to be able to give back. You know, I'm the old dog on the team now, and so I'm trying to give a little good experience on how to handle problems and situations to the commission and with the commission, and try and help people with their problems. In the long tradition that goes back to the beginning of our conversation, and in the long tradition of UP legislators like Dominic.
Just very briefly, tell us, what is the role of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission?
Our role is pretty basic. We wear two hats, Don. We are the wholesaler of distilled spirits for the state of Michigan. So that's why we make so much money in taxes to give to the legislature and the governor to spend for services to the public. And then the second hat we wear is a regulatory hat, where we license people to sell this controlled substance of alcohol. And we monitor how they do it, whether they live within the law, and try and do it the right way. So we're both a business inside of government and a regulating agency within inside of government. And we do all of that with about 140 bodies. We're down a little right now, but fortunately, because we make so much money, the governor's letting us refill 4 positions we've lost since the beginning of the year.
When we return, we'll talk about a major fine levied by the Liquor Control Commission. Back in 2 minutes. Michigan has its own system for the distribution and sale of alcohol in the state, and we talked about that with the Michigan Liquor Control Chairman, Gagliardi. You know, many people remember the old days when there was the state liquor store, but that changed some years ago, and now the liquor, as I understand it, goes from the state to certain distributors. And you just had kind of a record fine to one of those companies. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, and if I could do a little more history with you, Dan, since you and I did like it. I was there in 1997 when we changed the law to hire distributors to warehouse and distribute distilled spirits to the public, and closed stores, which were very, very popular. But what turned it around was that the state promised that you would get a delivery to your establishment, whether you were a bar, a restaurant, a marina, a golf course, whatever place you were that had a license, once a week. You get a once a week delivery to your door if you ordered minimum of a case of distilled spirits. The systems worked very well. In fact, when I came back in, when the governor appointed me last August, RNDC, the people that we just had a major settlement with for $3 million, it just opened was just opening a new facility in Livonia, an $85 million facility. And everybody was going, hey, that's great, investment in Michigan, you know, all those good things. And then the whole thing kind of fell apart. They deliver about 2/3 of our distilled spirits, and they, through computer software problems and, you know, supply chain.
There you go.
I'm showing my age now. Supply chain issues, and they weren't able to get product to people, and we lost an awful lot of money between the retailers, the wholesalers, the distributors, and the suppliers. We lost a lot of money last fall. So we went into a negotiation, and we came up with, they paid a fine of $3 million.
And this, you know, when people remember late last year, we heard a lot of stories about bars and places that sell packaged liquor not being able to get their supplies. This is what that was all about. This was because of this company.
Yeah, and it's really sad because we left a lot of money on the table for everybody, and we're never able to go back and get that. But in order to try to move on, we decided that we'd settle. The Attorney General was our attorney, and we'd settle the suit for $3 million, and we'd have an audit done by the company that they would pay for. We would pick the auditor, and we will go through a 12-month process of trying to get them back in line. And I think the fact that they recognized it and stipulated to the agreement shows that they're trying to get this all behind them too. It was a sad case of a company coming in, spending a lot of money in Michigan, and then going right in the proverbial toilet.
Let's talk about the other big issue that's going on right now, and that is the effect of this COVID-19 pandemic. You know, it's affected so many businesses, but certainly bars are among those, and other establishments that sell liquor that have been very affected by this. First of all, what kind of concerns are you hearing from those retailers?
Well, you know, we had a big retailer in East Lansing that opened up, and out of that one retailer, big college bar, we've had over 150 COVID positive tests come out of there. And so the real problem in the spread of this virus is it spreads easy. You don't know where it's at. A lot of people are what they call, I believe, Don, asymptomatic. So they carry it, but they don't get sick. The people that do get sick, and it tends to be people in our age group and up, get really sick, and a number of them don't make it. And so it's been tough because we want to open up our on-premise licenses, our bars and restaurants. Michigan is a big hospitality state, as you know, a big tourism state, a big entertainment state. We're kind of I like to say, a playground for the upper Midwest. And so we have a lot of these type of businesses, and it's been really hard on them. And as we're talking today, a new executive order dealing with masks in public. And I think our business community has to be real serious about this. People can't come into your business without a mask. If they don't want to wear a mask, they don't come in. They don't get served. We've got to keep these numbers down until we find some therapeutics or vaccines that'll help us out. And as you see in Texas, the governor there just went back a week ago or so and closed bars. In Florida, they're closed in a number of counties. They're doing it county by county. And we don't want to go back to it, but we went to a partial closure last week because business people and the public weren't paying attention to the fact that this is a serious, serious problem, and we need to address it. We're just going to have to live a little bit of a different life till we catch up with therapeutics or vaccines.
We'll continue our conversation with Pat Gagliardi after we take this 2-minute commercial break. Returning to our conversation with Pat Gagliardi, the chairman of the Liquor Control Commission, we talked about things his organization has done and is doing to help those in the bar business. Your group, the Liquor Control Commission, has taken some steps to help the bar owners as far as outdoor seating, I believe, and some other things. Tell us about that.
Well, we did a couple things while we were closed to try and help the bar owners. They buy their distilled spirits from us. About 850 businesses sold their distilled spirits back to us. It was unique. We let them keep the spirits. We didn't want them to move them or touch them. And they're going to pay us back. Once the emergency orders come off, they've got 90 days to pay us back interest-free. So we tried to infuse some cash, especially into our smaller businesses, while they were sitting there closed. And then we put together a task force with the Restaurant Association, with the MLBA. Everybody started to open up, and then, I don't know, something crazy went on. The public just thought, well, we're opening up, we're all done with this. And the silly fact is we're not all done with it. And so you've seen a partial closure start by the governor last week. As I said today, the governor has issued an emergency order on wearing masks in our communities. And we're back to trying to to tamp this thing down, to use an old UP phrase, tamp it down.
You've also made it easier, I believe, for bars to do some outdoor seating and also some other types of takeout options.
Right. The legislature has instituted curbside service. It's been called cocktails to go. It's really a little more complicated than that, but drinks to go that are properly sealed. We have worked hard. We have done hundreds of outdoor seating requests to license outdoor service areas for bars and restaurants in Michigan, so they can move people outside, get some social distancing. As we all know, the coronavirus does not, how do you want to say, jump from person to person so much in open air. Good ventilation makes a difference. So we've been very active with that. I'm very proud of our effort to try and help. The problem is we've got about almost 8,500 on-premise businesses that were out of business, and it's just hard to help everybody, but we've been trying to help. And anybody that hears your show that has a license, that has a problem, go to our website. There's a phone number on there if you're not technologically sophisticated, or email us. We're available 24/7 trying to handle problems. We know how big this industry is to the state, and just what it brings in dollars, what it brings in taxes. And of course, most importantly, for guys like you and I, Don, we know how important the jobs are.
Are you concerned, that we're going to lose some of these establishments before this is done?
Yeah, we've got right now, we just talked this morning on a conference call with our distributors, and for instance, in the Upper Peninsula, we are delivering to about 65 to 70% of the people that got deliveries at this time last year. So that means 30 to 35% of the businesses are not ordering. They're either not open or they're just not ordering. So that's quite a number of businesses. If they're all closed down, that'll have an impact on the economy.
Is there anything more your organization can do to help them, or is it pretty much in their hands at this point?
I think there's always something more we can do, and that's why we're looking for all the good ideas. The legislature also cut a bigger margin for the on-premise licensees to make for a year. For the next 12 months, the margin, the maximum was, the margin was 17%. The legislature let it go up to 23%. So our on-premise licensees can make more profit on the sale of distilled spirits over the next year. So that's something the legislature did to try and help them out. There's always something more we can do, and we're looking for all that we can handle. I think right now we're just trying to walk people through not having a close down. We've got to really be serious about not spreading this COVID-19.
I've used up all my time. It's been really good getting a chance to talk with you again after many years of not doing that. Any final thoughts you have before we wrap it up?
I just want to say it's so good to see you. I'm just a little jealous that you have more hair than me after all these years. And I'm glad you're still in there kicking and trying to inform people on interesting subjects. Thanks, Don, for having me, and God bless you.
It was great talking with Pat Gagliardi and to learn more about what the Michigan Liquor Control Commission is doing to try to help bar owners. I'll be back to talk about music after we take this break. I was listening to a song on the radio the other day. It was an old song, and it got me thinking back to my days as a teenage disc jockey on what was then WJPD AM in Ishpeming. I was in a reflective mood that day, and I also started thinking about the question, how did music begin? Did some guy start humming a tune one day, causing his friend to say, "Hey, what's that?" And the guy said, "I think I'll call it music." Well, clearly music didn't start that way, But the truth is there are many different theories. One gives credit to philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras, who lived about 500 years BC. But there are many other stories about how music may have started. It's not a question we're going to answer today. You know, for many of us, the music we love most is the music we grew up with, the music they were playing on the radio when we were teenagers. Every era had its own music. The big band swing sound of the 40s, the arrival of the rock sound in the 50s into the 60s, disco in the 70s, the new age dance music of the 80s, and so on through the years. You know, back to my days as a teenager on the radio, I was in high school, and my arrival behind the microphone also coincided with the arrival of rock and roll. Elvis Presley singing Don't Be Cruel and Hound Dog, Rock Around the Clock with Bill Haley and the Comets, and there were a lot more. My Prayer by the Platters, Fats Domino's My Blue Heaven, and Wake Up Little Susie by the Everly Brothers. But you know, the 50s music was not just about rock and roll. That era had some very nice romantic ballads as well. Songs like Sincerely by the McGuire Sisters, Gogi Grant's Haunting the Wayward Wind, Love is a Many Splendored Thing by the Four Aces, Dean Martin's Memories Are Made of This, Learnin' the Blues by Frank Sinatra, and many more. You know, whoever did invent music had a good idea. It has entertained us in so many different styles and in so many different ways, like singing, dancing, or just listening. Sadly for me, I never learned to play an instrument. And I won't say I can't carry a tune, but I know that people aren't going to pay me to sing. My only consolation comes from those early days when I entertained people by playing the music they loved on the radio. I'll be back in a minute. The Today Show is coming up next, and it's time for us to wrap it up for this week. Keep in mind you can also watch the show at UpperMichiganSource.com. I enjoyed sharing some memories today and getting an update from Pat Gagliardi, former legislator and current chairman of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. And thank you for joining us. I hope you'll be here again next Sunday morning.